Hi, Jonathan Pickup. Welcome to my podcast 082. I'm going to do another podcast where I show you what we did in the user group from a couple of years ago. This is an introduction to 3D modeling, and because of the length of the movies here, I had to split it into a couple of parts. So this is part 1. Hi, it's Jonathan Pickup. Welcome to my March user group newsletter, and I'd like to thank you for subscribing. We seem to really be developing some momentum now. We're going to talk about 3D modeling. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that I often get people say to me, look, I'm going to wait till I got this 2D stuff out of the way and then I'll get into the 3D. But the reality is that Vectorworks creates some of this 3D for you for nothing. Let's look at our layers organization dialog box, design layers, double click. There's a layer Z and there's a layer delta Z. Now this means if you put in the layer delta Z and the Z height correctly, that you can set up your model, you can set up your building so that as you draw the walls and put in the doors and windows, your building develops as a three-dimensional model. And it'll do this for nothing, basically. Let's just go through a little example where I show you what I've done in the notes. So let's call this mod floor 1. So mod floor 1 has a starting height of 0. It has a delta Z height of 2710 plus 210 millimeters, and that's for my floor to ceiling plus my floor thickness for the floor above. So I tend to work from finished floor to finished floor. Okay, now let's create a new layer. We'll call this mod floor 2. You have to create the layer first, then you can go back and edit its height. So it's going to start at that height, so the Z is the start of the layer. So this start of this layer is sitting on the top of floor 1. Then we can put in its height, the height of this layer 2440, or about 8 feet. Now this means that we can set the walls to always use the layer delta Z height, which means that as you draw walls or copy walls from one layer to another, they will measure the layer delta Z, that's this one here, and they will adjust the height of the walls accordingly. It's a very cool trick. And that's the start of setting up your file to use 3D. This is our extrude file. The first rule of extrusion is that extrusions always come out of the screen at you, so they are view dependent. In the first example, we're in a plane view, so when we extrude it, this object is going to go up, and so it's going to come towards our eye. So model on the menu bar, extrude, and we're going to put in a height of 2 meters or 6 feet. You notice that the extrusion goes see-through, so we can't see through it. It's not like one of these anymore, it's become like a wireframe object. View, standard views, and right isometric. So you can see it started at 0 on the working plane. I'll just use my flyover tool. So you can see my object has started at 0 on the working plane and it's come up towards my eye. I'm going to change to a front view. View, standard views, front. There you can see it's on the 0 on the working plane and it's gone up. 2D selection tool, select the next rectangle. Model, extrude, also 2 meters, so you can hit the enter key. Now if I get my flyover tool, you'll see that my object has started at 0 on the working plane. There's the pink working plane, and it's come towards us. So it's come towards us in front view. So our eye was down here. The object always comes towards you. 2D selection tool, select the next rectangle, model, and extrude. Click OK or hit the enter key. Back to our flyover tool. So you can see what's happened to this object here. It started at 0 and has come towards our eye. That's the first rule of extrusions. They always come towards you, so extrusions are view dependent. So depending on your object, you might have to be in a plan view. You might have to be in a front view, or you might have to be in a right view in order to do your extrusion correctly. Let's open our next extrusion file. File, open. This file is called Extrude 2. There's my object. If you go to its edge, you'll notice the cursor changes shape. Double click. There's the original shape used to create my extrusion. So if I get my circle tool, the ellipse tool, start at the bottom center, come along a little bit, come up here where it says done, click on the done button, and you can see my extruded shape is now changed. I'm going to get my 2D selection tool, double click again. If I select both of those objects, go to modify and choose add surface, the extrusion will look slightly different, and you notice it's a combined object. So extrusions are very useful that we can go back to them, we can edit them again. A multiple extrusion is very similar to a regular extrusion, except that it's important which order you create the objects, because they will control whether your extrusion goes from large to small or from small to large. Let's start with our rectangle tool. Double click on it. Our rectangle is 1000 by 750, and make sure you turn off the position at next click so that we can control mathematically where our rectangle goes. You notice it's gone right in the middle of the view. Double click on the rectangle tool again. This time it's 750 by 500. Position at next click's turned off still, so it'll go right in the middle. 2D selection tool, select both objects, model on the menu bar, and multiple extrude. So our height, 3.5 meters, and there's our object. If we look at this in a isometric view, standard views, right isometric, and you can see the object standing up and it's quite tall. To change its height, we can use the object info palette. Now if I move to the edge of the object, you'll notice my cursor changes shape. I can double click, and there are my two rectangles used to create my multiple extrude. Right mouse click on the smaller one, send to back. When I click on the done button, my multiple extrusion's upside down. Once again, go to its edge, double click, try double clicking on its edge, and there's my extrusion, or my rectangles. So right mouse click, send to back, and now when I click on the done button, it should be fine. It's back to normal. Come to its edge again, double click, select both rectangles, modify on the menu bar, align and distribute. We want to align the top, center. So now when I exit this object, you'll notice it's a slightly different shape. In plan view, it should look different, so let's go to view, standard views, top plan, and you can see it's got quite a different shape now. If I go to a right view or an isometric view, you can see it's now got my new shape. So you can come back and edit these things later. Remember, it's view dependent, so you get yourself into the right view before you start your multiple extrusion.